How can gaming help us in our everyday lives? Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel and I have a special guest for you today. This is Justin Flowers. Justin is a lifelong gamer and entrepreneur and has a real estate company working with like turnkey solutions, mortgage, also has a lawn care company and is a former kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter. So gosh, so much cool stuff that you do. And I love the lifelong gamer part, of course. So Justin, thank you so much and welcome. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Doing good. So glad to be here.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your journey, I guess, where you started with gaming and then how did that translate or how did you find your way through, I guess, kickboxing and then into owning companies, like being an entrepreneur. Like that sounds like an incredible journey. So take a start with the gamer part. How did we start as a gamer?
So as far back, I mean, I probably had a Game Boy, the old gray brick, back as far as when I was, maybe three. I don't remember too much back then, but I do remember when I got my first console, and it was Christmas morning. I was 5 years old, and that showed up. Super Nintendo showed up under the tree, and that was it. I was sold.
That's awesome.
And I remember one of the earliest games that really I just fell in love with was Sim City, that the old school one.
Yeah, I
And
love that one.
yeah, you're building towns and there's you're managing money and everything. And I'm like, man, this I just fell in love with that. And so and there was like probably some other games and stuff during that time. And I just remember thinking like, man, when I grow up, like I want to, I don't know about run a city, but I want to have like a business, or I want to have something that I'm managing like that. And I always had it in my head. It was, I was like, man, when I come up, I always used to tell my mom, when I grow up, I'll have my own company. I'm going to call it Just Corp. Stupid. I would never name it that, but that's what I thought when I was a kid. But I went to college in Redmond, Washington. I went to DigiPen. I'm sure a lot of people that probably listen to this are going to be familiar with that. But game design school, and I went to school for that. But right when I was about to graduate was kind of circa like '07, '08, '09 financial meltdown. And
Yeah.
I had actually switched degrees from programming to design about halfway through. And so a lot of buddies of mine had already graduated, and they were having a hard time getting jobs and other kind of stuff like that. And you know, um, and so and kind of near the end of that, a buddy of mine, um, we just decided to take up Muay Thai together, and I fell in love with it. And so I dropped out of college, and I said, well, nobody else is getting jobs in the industry, so I probably won't either. So might as well go do this. And that led me into the Muay Thai world, and I did that for a long time. Um, and eventually that I fought for a long time. I trained champions. I'm an instructor, sanctioned by the government of Thailand to teach all
Oh,
this other kind of stuff. And but my career ended with a back injury. And so when I was injured, uh, I met my wife, who's Filipina, and she said, "Well, why don't you come to Asia with me?" And I had only known her for a couple months. So I'm like, "Hey, trip sounds cool." So we went there, and I ended up living in Asia for a couple years. We started a little business over there. It was a tourism business. We used to do island hopping tours in El Nido, in Palawan, in the Philippines. And we did that for a while, and I actually had we had I went there. I bought a boat. Right, this is love entrepreneur type stuff. Right, so we were hanging out on the beach one day, and there was a sign that said "Banca for sale." That's boat in Filipino. It was like 260,000 pesos. I'm like, man, how much is that? Oh, it's like 8 grand for like a 60-foot yacht that can carry 20, 30 people a
wow.
trip, and each one of those tickets to the island is like $30. So didn't take too much convincing. Threw down for it, bought the boat, had the business up and running 2 weeks later. And we did that for a couple years. And I eventually ended up like selling the business. But when we were there, I there was a commercial space I found, and it was really, really crappy little store on the side of the road. And we bought it and renovated it, glass, everything, granite flooring and everything was beautiful when we were done with it. And that was my first um, real estate rehab before I was even in real estate. So
Mm,
when we came
yeah.
back from Asia, I had a friend that was like, "Hey, why don't you hop into real estate with me?" And that was 2017, and I've been in since then. So, and I have expanded, to other aspects of real estate, and grew the company and all sorts of stuff. So it's been a really good journey. I took the same passion I have for games, for Muay Thai, put it into real estate. So it just, it was a very smooth transition.
That's an amazing journey. I love that, Justin, because it sounds like there was a lot of you know, I guess the heart and soul of the gamer within you, especially the starting with the Sim City. I love that kind of analogy as far as building a city. It's sort of like building a business, right? There's so many different variables that you have to kind of take into account. And so I guess to ask a question, I guess have you played a wide variety or wide genres of games, right?
Yeah. There's I don't play a lot of sports games, probably sports and racing games. I don't play too much of those, but like RPGs,
Hmm.
of course, big RPG fan. Love my simulations, my city builders, my RTSs. I'll play just about anything. So,
That's
um,
really funny because those that have watched and listened to the show before knows that that's actually my preferences. So as far as the types of games that we play, I think you're the closest that I've had on the show as far as like the mirroring the games. Because I said, sports games, nah, racing games, it has to be like really fictional, cartoony, like a Mario Kart or something. But like
sure,
the
of course.
Forza, the F1, I'm like, no, FIFA, Madden, no. Because I'm like, I'm probably not going to be ever a professional sports, player, but, I can go watch that kind of stuff, or I can go in the backyard and like, we can play sports with other people. It's like, no, I want to be able to do crazy things that I can't do right in real life. I want to be able to like cast magic or, fly a spaceship and all these other things. So that's really interesting to me because so it sounds, so like I said, trying to reflect the similarity with myself. It's like, wow, you have a wide variety of gaming interests that entrepreneurship, right? And I wonder if that's something that drew both of us there to say like that city builder element to that making your own business, but then the kind of wide array of gaming because it's not just one type of business, right? You've told me now that we've had current right is real estate and a
Yeah,
lawn mowing business, but before that it was tourism, right, and having a boat.
that's
Um,
right.
and then of course the Muay Thai before that, and I'm just like, man, what a like amazing life of just tons of experiences, and I think that's what we love about gaming too, as far as firing up different games,
Yeah.
because there are some people that play the same game for hours and hours, right, and because they want to get the best at this one game, but a lot of us play a wide variety of games.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'm in a first person shooter mode, sometimes I'm in a RPG mode, and, just depends. So how I'm feeling when I wake up that day.
Yep, exactly right. Yeah, it's sometimes you just want to blow stuff up in a video game, and then sometimes you want to build and do something, be creative. So I love that. So the journey to get to I guess from that, so we're kind of jumping, we're showing this kind of array of interests that led to this kind of entrepreneurship. So and I guess I'll ask it the kind of how question. So how did that come about as far as taking this kind of gaming passion into the rest of kind of what you do, as far as especially getting into the real estate now? Because I'm sure there's a lot of gamers listening that are like, I love video games. I love a lot of different video games. What does that mean for me for starting like my own business?
Right. So, I'm big on, I mean, everybody's different, right? Everybody gravitates towards different stuff, but I'm big on checklists and progress and stuff like that. I played Eve Online for like, man, I don't know, like 10, 12 years, whatever, long time. And that gave a lot of skill sets that totally transfer into, I mean, you run a corp there, I run a corp here, right? It's a direct translation.
That's what they call
Except
them, corpse in that game too, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, in something like that, you have to follow like a process of everything if you're building up. And so the same thing here for all these businesses, and following these checklists and just seeing these all these things come to fruition, hitting these milestones and setting these goals. To me is kind of part of like the gamification of it, right? You want to see that gratitude, right? When you start off with a game like let's take Sim City, right? You're going to hit your first milestone like 10,000 people. Well, for a business, that might be we just opened our first line of credit, something like that. We just closed our first deal. We just hit our first $1 million in sales. These types of, goals here is what keeps it fun for me, and really the sky's the limit. If you're a business owner, you're only limited by what you're willing to do or what you think can happen. Um, I have some pretty lofty goals here, but I'm the kind of gamer that like I beat my games, right? Rarely do I leave them like just half played and unfinished, right? I finish all my games. So the same thing, I look at my businesses and kind of like we talked about before this, my goal is always to exit the business. I'm not married to any one of my businesses. Each one is meant to have a life cycle and close out and be sold. And that's me beating that game, and then I'm going to go start to play another one and do the same thing with that. And I'll probably be doing this till I die, right? So that's kind of how that translates to my business world.
That's amazing. That parallel just works so well for me. It's for I think for as an example. So if you're a type of gamer that loves beating your games, right? Because I know because there's so many fellow gamers, right? That yeah, they'll play through like a couple hours even, and that's it. Like you get a feel for the game. It's like
Yep.
okay, and then they'll jump to something else. It's like oh, that's not really. It's like I understand if it's not like your cup of tea. You're like I don't really like this game. Move on. But if it's like oh yeah, I sunk 5 hours into the game. Yeah, it's a good game. I'm gonna go play something else now. I'm like, what are you doing? It's just
Yeah.
something that I think you yourself and myself. I'm like, what? Like, I thought you liked it. You don't want to finish. You don't want to keep going. And it's just so that kind of mentality. Everybody's different, and it's okay. But it's just what does that play to in terms of strengths for you, right? And so being able to beat a game, I love that. So yeah, if you could comment, I guess a little bit more as far as like how that translates.
Sure. So also like I'll play like two, three, 4 games at a time.
Hmm.
Over there, I mean you can see my PS5 in the background. What you can't see on the other side is the PS3 with backwards compatibility. So I have, one to PlayStation 1 to 5 right there at any time. So I'm usually playing a PS2 game, working on my backlog while I'm, trying to, finish my PS4 library while I'm working through my PS5 library. I go to bed, I'm on my Switch before 30 minutes or so to finish that library. I also run multiple companies. I've already had meetings for 2 other companies this morning, that I'm running. So, I all of this stuff is translatable. That's how I do my games. It's how I run my businesses, multitasking. It takes a super wide skill set to successfully run a business, and I will be the first to say I'm not a master of anything, right? Jack of all trades, perhaps, master of none for sure. So, and I got into this, when I was younger. I mean, I've had many failed businesses too, right? They're not always successful. I think you got to fail a few times before you start to get into a rhythm. The younger that you are, the more failure you're probably going to have until you get older, and you learn that you got to level up a little bit first, before you can find some success there. So, um, I've gone through the failures. Building the skill sets and stuff is just, to me, the whole thing is a game, right? I mean, life is a game, and business is as close as you can get as a real life game to that. So, there's a lot of similarities between the types of games that I'm playing and how I'm running my businesses. So,
I love so much wisdom I think that you're dropping here, Justin, for the fellow gamers. So to go back to the point on, I guess how you're managing your businesses, how you're managing your companies, the multitasking aspect of it, and being able and say and enjoying doing like the backlog of different games and multiple games at the same time. And one of the famous sayings, I forget who said it, is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so, sure enough, it's like that's what kind of popped in my head as the prime example to be like, oh, I'm playing this game, I'm playing this game, I'm playing this game. I also be having to manage this company, this company, this company, and it's just like, it works so well. So I think the advice for the gamers is like, look at how you do things. Look at how you treat how you treat everything, how you treat work, life, play, and translating that and saying like, hey, if this is how you operate, what sort of business, whether it's, working for somebody else, working, starting your own company, what it is that you want to do to actually like earn a living, earn an income, mirroring what you're already, your natural tendencies is going to make you so much stronger and better for that.
right.
I love
Uh,
that. And then love the adage of, understanding the need. I'll call it a need, the need for failure. So many people like to avoid failure, but as gamers, I think we inherently understand that failure is part of the process, right? How many of us can beat a game the first try or day one, right?
yeah, you're not going to beat Dark Souls without dying like probably 1,000 times, right? So,
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's people that now can do like, a no death or no hit run, I guess, of Dark Souls, but how many hours and how many deaths did it take them to get to that point?
exactly.
Right. So that kind of Yeah, we see that I think online too, as far as what people perceive or think as kind of like the overnight success. It's like, well, how many years of hard work and failure did it take to become the overnight success?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, can you give us kind of maybe an example or two, if you wouldn't mind, of like a failed business, right? Because I think that there might be some people that look at you and say like, "Oh, wow, you got it all together. You have all these different businesses. You've done all these cool things." But they're maybe they don't see that other side to say like, oh, well, that works for you, Justin, but that's not for me. Like,
Yeah.
when have you failed, Justin?
Sure. So I actually just had a great example over the past couple of years. During COVID, that happened like March, what was that? Like March 2020 was when we got it here. All of a sudden, this is, I'm in South Texas, right? So this is definitely a local market thing, but I think this is kind of across the US is you know, the guns and ammo industry, right? Really dried up. If you wanted ammunition, you weren't going to find it, right? And I come from a family of hunters, and Texas, everybody is just about. And so I had a friend, a colleague. I wouldn't call him a friend, but I had a colleague that had previously ran an online ammunition sales business and did really well with it. And so we talked about it, and we saw an opportunity to have a business like that. I would fund it, he would run it, and we started this business. And like most things, I had it up and running in like 2 weeks. We had a website, and we were out there talking with suppliers and everything else. And what we didn't know was, or I guess what we didn't take into consideration was that ammo is a restricted business, right?
Mhm.
And so you can't go on what do they have here, like Shopify or whatever, or some of the other e-commerce sites. You can't go sell your
Yeah.
ammo on Amazon, right? So it has to be like a custom domain, or you have to use other ones that are just like not that great. And so we ended up getting into some hot water, and because it's restricted, like your payment processors and stuff are not super. You don't get the kind of support that somebody on a regular e-commerce site's going to get, right? And so we ended up having somebody that ended up, I guess, stealing a customer's credit card, and ended up
Ooh.
purchasing a bunch of really, really expensive, like high-powered scopes. And my partner thought, "Yeah, man, this is great." And I'm like, "Wait a second." And sure enough, like a couple months later, I woke up, one morning and looked at my Wells Fargo account. There was like negative $50,000 in the bank account. So, a little stressful,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I had to go borrow a bunch of money to dig us out of that hole. That ended up in a lawsuit that I ended up having to settle with the payment processor. And so eventually, essentially we just shut that business down. And I said, you know what, this is too risky and too much, too unregulated for me to really want to go through here. Learned a lot, right? Story does have a happy ending though, because earlier this year I got a check in the mail from the FTC, who sued that payment processor because they had been doing these chargebacks without authorization to all
Mm.
these merchants. And so there was a whole bunch of businesses that had been kind of victimized by this particular processor. And we got refunded for everything we had spent on that lawsuit and what we had spent. So I got out of that one scot-free, right? But certainly learned a lot of lessons, right? Lessons in taking partners, right? Who you do business
Oh yeah.
with, what kind of business you do, like stuff like that. I mean, I got a lot of stories of stuff like that, but that's certainly one that failed, no doubt.
Gosh. And the good news is there that, like you said, you learned a lot because I think that's really powerful because failure, I think we know it inherently in video games where failure is a learning experience. It's just an opportunity to change and to grow. Or it's like, well, I'm not going to run into that enemy this time. Or I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to, yeah, depending on the game, right? Say, I'm going to parry, I'm going to jump over, I'm going to do whatever. But then in life, it's like, why aren't we doing the same thing, right? Because for some reason in society we're taught like, oh, you can't fail, like especially in kind of the corporate world where yeah, being seen as like failing or failure is like almost incompetence in the corporate world. Unfortunately, a lot of the times perceived that way. There are good companies that see it differently, and those tend to float to the top, And so it's
Yeah.
like, how can we change? How can we grow? And so I think that for the gamers, just to understand that yes, you understand in video games failure is okay. Bringing it into the rest of your life is necessary. It is okay. Failure is not the opposite to success. Failure is the path to success. You have to fail to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So I wanted to also touch on the gamification piece that you mentioned. So as far as treating life as a game, and the words sound good, and I wanted to get kind of maybe a little more detail as far as like how do you interpret that and how do you incorporate that into your life? When we say life is a game and we can kind of add this gamification elements, you mentioned like, for example, the milestones in SimCity. How does that translate to life? If we had kind of more of a process or more examples that you can share with the fellow gamers.
Sure. I mean, age has a big part, of that, right? Like I'm 37 now. Just had just my wife just gave birth in April, right? A daughter.
Congratulations.
My son is he's 11, right? So growing a family here, that's a big milestone,
Mhm.
right? And like first time I went out of country overseas, I was with my wife to the Philippines. We've been all over the place since then, right? So all these are milestones, opening a business, having our first sale, all that kind of stuff, and it all translates to experience, and you know, I'm really not a money motivated person. I'm a businessman, right? I'm not money motivated. I'm success motivated, right? I like
Mhm.
to see the success of my businesses. I like to see when we hit these milestones. Hey, we just hit, $1 million this year for sales. In the lawn care business, when we were doing that, like, hey, we just build out our first $1,000, right? It's baby money, but it's a good feeling to know that we hit at least that point, or we hit the point where like, hey, we've now covered all of our startup costs, right? That's a milestone. And so, I look at these things I'm big on goal setting, right? Or just we use, I don't know if you're familiar or not, but the book Traction.
Part of it, I haven't read it, but yeah.
If you haven't read it, you should read it. Anybody listening to this podcast should absolutely read that book. If you want to grow a business and you want to have it set on a certain path, go read the book Traction. We implemented that in my businesses, several years ago, and I use that going forward, right? If you want to set goals and have everything manageable and achievable, right, that is a phenomenal system. The EOS system is a great system to run your businesses off of. So we run that, and that's all about goal setting and being able to achieve these things. And really, to me, it's all about picking low hanging fruit, right? And you pick that, and then by the time you get to the higher fruit, it's already fallen a little bit because you picked the low stuff. So it's like you're climbing the tree with a ladder, and it makes it easier to hit all these goals, right? We don't go out and say, hey, we're going to do 100 things this quarter. Hell no, we're doing 3 to 7 things, right? And we're making it manageable and making sure that everybody on the team, these are everybody on the team can achieve these goals, right? And we just do that every quarter systematically. That's what grows the business. Being consistent about it and stuff like that. And so hitting these milestones and seeing the business grow, watching the money go into the bank account, all that to me is exactly what I would want from a business simulator. In fact, on that note, the lawn care business, I picked it up from playing like was it like lawn care simulator and power washing simulator. Those are two badass games and super addictive, and I
Yep.
played that like sometime last year. I'm like, why am I not doing this? It seems pretty easy, and it is, and so that's how that business got started around Thanksgiving because I was bored. I don't like Thanksgiving. Everyone's got time off. Title companies closed. There's nothing to do but sit around and wait. And so I said, hey, why don't I just go start a new business? And
Wow.
now we're billing out thousands of dollars worth of sales every month. So that's just how it happens, right? So I don't know if
That's
that
great.
answers the question or not, but that's how I view all this stuff.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so I guess to kind of ask that follow-up question on as far as like, just kind of go out and do it, right? So you look at something like a power wash simulator, lawn care simulator, and you're like, I'll just go do that, right? And I think that there's no right, there's no issue. I think on your like you've started businesses before, you have that experience. So like it's kind of a no-brainer in that situation. And there's definitely people that have that kind of, I'll call it the mental barrier that says like, oh, I don't know how to start a business. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do that. That's not for me.
Yeah.
And I guess what kind of advice would you have for people that have that kind of, I guess, again, that mental barrier that says, oh no, I can't do this.
So I mean, I've helped a lot of people break into real estate, break into small businesses and stuff like that. And it's always taking that like just go do it mentality. A lot of the fighters that I used to train in Muay Thai that became champions would have never even dreamed of even stepping in the ring, much less becoming a champion, right? So I'm a big believer in pushing yourself to go out and do it. I mean, anybody can start a business, and a lot of my stuff is like blue collar businesses. These are not, I don't run a tech company, right? That's a different level. I don't know if I could just go out and do it. But like there are many businesses that you probably could. uh Maybe somebody wants to get into lawn care. Somebody's listening here, like you get a little bored, maybe you're tired of sitting there and playing games all day, you want to go out and earn some money and get fit, right? Go down to the pawn shop, go buy a push mower for like $50, and then go find some old lady that needs her grass cut, and then charge her $50 for it. Now your equipment's paid and you just did a job and you got some experience. The next one's that much easier. And then you just do it again and again and again. You go buy your upgrades, right? That's literally what we call it. We're like, oh, we got upgrades today, right? So we always get excited when we got a new piece of equipment or something. And we go off and do it. That's it. It's that simple. Just go out, find something easy that doesn't take a whole lot of brain power that you can charge a little bit of money for. Go do that a handful of times and it gets easier and scale from there. That's all it takes to start a business. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have the systems. You don't even have to have a lot of money, right? As long as you got $50 to go buy a push mower at the local pawn shop, you could probably go and start that type of business, right?
I
So,
love that. And so the key, and so I've heard this from I guess from other sources too, that really what you mentioned, that core of starting small, right? Okay, a lot of people they want to build. I think the analogy I've heard is people want to build, the jet, build the airplane, one piece at a time. Be like, oh, well, I'll just slowly build it. It's like, no, it's going to take you forever because you can't fly in just the tail of an airplane. It's like, well, I
right.
built the tail, so we're good. It's like, all right, I built the engine. We're good. It's like you don't have a plane around it. And they want the big thing, right? Like, oh, I need a website and I need all this stuff set up and I need all this automation like right out the gate. And oh gosh, I need like a sales team or something. I need like an entire back office. It's like, no, start small. What's the analogy is like what's the paper airplane version, right? Can you have anything fly? Like it doesn't have to do much. It doesn't have to carry hardly anything, but can you get it to go? So I love the idea of like the push mower, right? Like a lawn care business, you can start literally with $50 in a push mower.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. The other part of that is like, and I understand wanting to have all these fancy systems and stuff or having everything built out. Well, I don't want to start until it's all built out. Man, that makes it exponentially harder, and more expensive to run, you know. Um, Plus, like, especially if you're getting into an industry or something or a business that you don't have any experience in, you don't want to start big because you have to build that experience first, right? If you don't have experience doing the actual task you're going to be doing and you spend it all building out these big, huge systems and stuff for it, that's not going to help you because you go out on that first job and you screw it up because you didn't have experience doing it. It doesn't matter how fancy it is or whatever. Like that's how stuff fails, right? Just go out, do it, repeat it, get good at it, get fairly good at it, and then charge people for it, and then build it out from there. That would be that's the easiest way to do it. Like you could be 13 years old and go out and do it, right? With no
That's
experience.
awesome.
Yeah.
Because the other thing you mentioned is that because you get to start small, you get to have the upgrades, right? You get to get that sense of progression, right? And I know, like having played, RPGs and stuff, it's like that sense of leveling up, that sense of progression, getting the levels, getting the new milestones, getting the new equipment, getting the upgrades. That's a lot of the fun of the game, right?
Yeah.
Just that sense of progression. So, is that something that you've noticed, you know, and you build, it sounds like you build, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you build that into the growing of your own businesses, right? Is those sense of progression, right? That comes probably from video games, right?
Absolutely. I never really thought I'd be excited about like doing lawn care stuff or any of that. Because that's how I started. I mean, I have employees now, but especially when I started, it's not. I already run a multi-million dollar business, with the real estate stuff. Why I'm out there cutting grass? Just because I was bored, right? I was bored on a holiday. That's it. I went out and did it. I never thought I'd be excited about grass upgrades, but when we get like a new chainsaw or we get something, I'm like, man, this is badass. I mean, I could go afford it, right? It's not what it is. It's about knowing that we started with that push mower, and like, now we have riding stuff, or now we have, backpack blowers, or whatever, the badass pressure washers, whatever it may be. You get those upgrades, and it's like it's that progression through the business. Could be any industry. It's not necessarily just lawn care. It could be any industry, right? Even in real estate, we started off with like dumpy properties, and now we're holding apartment complexes and storage units and multifamily stuff and all that. You get those upgrades over time. You're like, man, like, and then when you step back and you look at it, you look at all the progress you've done, you look at the level of your business and all the upgrades and gear you got for it, and you're like, man, I can't believe we got this far, and you just started with that very, very small piece. I did not go into real estate. I started real estate and I was broke. I had nothing. And I started with no money, just a large amount of hustle, and that's it. And here we are.
That's fantastic. Wow. That I just love that. Just the sense of progression, the sense of just achievement. And I do like the way you say you step back and you look, kind of see like what the level that you've achieved, right? It's going back to the Sim City example, right? At some point you build all these little bits of your city where you get, I got my residential, got my commercial, got my industrial, get all the little fancy little add-ons. And then at some point you can just step back and just kind of scroll around and be like, this is my city. I built this.
Yep.
And so being
Yep.
able to look at your business and say, like, yeah, I built this. This is fantastic. And so you get to achieve, the success, but then you get to just appreciate and just, I say the gratitude of just, looking at it and just seeing how far you've come and how cool it is now, right?
Good feeling. Yeah.
Fantastic. So guys, so I guess we've got to ask, so as far as being an entrepreneur and everything we've talked about here, I'll say, is there anything we've missed? Is there anything that says, hey, if you're going to get into business, maybe it's a pitfall or a trap. Well, where would you steer people away from?
I would be, yeah, sure. There's a few things, right? Be very careful about partners, right? Know who you're going business in if you take one. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying make absolutely sure, paper up everything.
Mm.
Uh, don't have verbal anything. So if you agree with somebody, can I get that in writing? Right? Write it on a napkin, whatever. It doesn't matter. Write it on something, right? These days, go into ChatGPT. ChatGPT, hey, can you write me up a document? Let me get an agreement between Justin and Daniel about whatever it may be, and then paper it up, right? Because that's how a lot of disagreements and stuff starts. Other things. If you're gonna be in business, you're gonna need good credit, right? And so that's but back when I when I dropped out of college, I was like, I ain't paying for this. I lived overseas, I ran my tourist business, I was living like a pirate over there. I came back, I got into real estate. I'm like, okay, well, it's time to go legit. Had to go get all that stuff current and pay all that stuff off and everything, and build that good credit so we could do that. But when you have good credit, you can apply for the good lines of credit with the banks, right? You can apply for loans, you can apply for all that kind of stuff. So that's a big thing. um, that was just immaturity back then, right? Like, I'm not gonna pay this stuff. Then you get older, you're like, well, I guess I kind of have to,
Like, I
right?
guess I have to pay for it.
Yeah. So, that sort of stuff. But, those would be some of the big things, and just, yeah, like I said, just go out and do it. Don't overthink it, go out and, doesn't have to be expensive or anything. Just go do anything. And I will say that, like, every business I've done, every failure or success, like, you can't lose what you learn, right? Uh, you unless you're playing like Final Fantasy 11 online, like, you don't normally lose levels with the stuff you have. So, um, every business, every success or failure is going to make you that much better with what you do, right? And so the sooner you get started with it, the easier it's going to be for you down the road, right? And that's it. I still got a lot to learn, right? But I'm leagues farther than where I was, 10, 15 years ago, right? So just go do it.
I love that. Just take action because it's almost the cure all. I think from what I've seen and what I've noticed too, it's like you can only look and read about and understand so much without actually doing it. I love the analogy of yeah, you can read a book to learn how to swim,
Right.
but eventually you got to jump in the water to
Exactly.
truly understand. Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic. So, Justin, I guess, is there any way we can connect with you? Whether it's social media, websites, anything like that, that we can learn more about you and what you do.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can find me on Facebook, Justin Flowers. I don't really use Instagram much, but Um, our company website for the real estate is www.mgvhomesolutions.com. You can reach out to me there. You can reach out to me on Facebook. I love helping people. If somebody reaches out to me today and sends me a message, I'll probably be talking with you. And I love business, love real estate, love everything about it. I love gaming, right? It doesn't really matter. So, if anybody ever has anything, I'm always happy to help. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Justin. This has been amazing, and love all the wisdom that you've been dropping on it. And guys, this is what success as a gamer looks like. I feel it's just just the wide variety of experiences and just being understanding that failure happens, but actually being able to overcome and succeed in building businesses and still loving games and playing games to current day, right? I love that aspect of it. As far as didn't a lot of people give up on gaming? Like, I'm an adult now, I'm not a gamer. It's like, no, it's a passion, it's a hobby. You don't just give that up immediately, right? So
Right.
I love that. And one final question before we close down this particular podcast, Justin, which of course is, what is your favorite video game?
Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. That's
Morrowind.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, Morrowind, love it. Just can't get enough. I would say Tactics. Final Fantasy Tactics is a
Oh,
close
that's a
second,
great one too. Yeah,
but those are my top two right there.
that's great. And as of recording, the new, I guess, remaster, right, of Tactics is coming out soon. So
Just about to come out. So
looking forward to that. Gosh. So Justin, any final words for the gamers?
no, just don't stop gaming. That's it. Age has nothing to do with it. Just keep it going, and enjoy it, whether it's old games or new games. So, one last thing is that if anybody wants to get at me with, through my email versus company stuff, you can hit me at justin@mgvhomesolutions.com. I'm very responsive to email, so always happy to help. So.
Fantastic. And guys, if you want to learn how to take your gaming skills and translate them into the real world so that you can have that level of success and confidence that you're looking for, definitely hit me up, dragonmorexp.com. Start your journey today. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.